Rebekah was the consort of Isaac and progenitor of Esau and Jacob. Her first appearance occurs in Genesis 24:15, being presented as the daughter of Bethuel, who in turn was the son of Milcah, wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother. This establishes that Rebekah was Abraham's great-niece and Isaac's second cousin. In Genesis 24, it is reported that Abraham was looking for a wife for his son Isaac, but did not want him to marry a Canaanite, a people among whom Abraham and his family lived at the time. So Abraham sent his servant to his homeland, to the city of Nahor, to find a wife for Isaac among his relatives. The servant arrived at a well and prayed to God that his mission would be successful. He asked for a sign, that the young woman who offered him water and also quenched the thirst of his camels would be the one chosen by God for Isaac. While he was still praying, Rebekah appeared, a beautiful virgin and a descendant of Bethuel, son of Milcah, married to Abraham's brother, Nahor. The young woman, in addition to offering water to the servant, also took care of quenching the camel's thirst. The servant, attentive, watched in silence to confirm whether the Lord had blessed his journey. Once the camels had finished drinking, he presented Rebekah with a gold ring and bracelets and inquired about her family and whether there would be lodging for them at her father's house. Rebekah replied that she was the daughter of Bethuel, born of Milcah and Nahor, and stated that there was room and provisions for them. Men bowed down and worshipped the Lord, praising him for not forsaking Abraham's benevolence and loyalty. The young woman then ran to tell her family what had happened. After arrangements between Abraham's servant and Rebekah's father and brother Laban, she was taken back to join Isaac. As described in Genesis 24:67, Isaac took her to his mother Sarah's tent, and they were married. Rebekah became his wife, and he loved her deeply, finding comfort after the loss of his mother. However, for many years, Rebekah remained sterile. Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife, and God answered his prayers, allowing Rebekah to become pregnant, as narrated in Genesis 25:21. Rebekah gave birth to Jacob and Esau, the first twins mentioned in the sacred scriptures, in the verses of Genesis 24:22-24. Intrigued by the strife of the babies in her womb, she questioned, "Why am I going through this?" and sought answers directly from God. The Lord revealed to Rebekah that in her womb there were two nations and that they were in conflict. During her pregnancy, she noticed that the twins were fighting each other and questioned God about this internal strife. God responded to Rebekah, according to Genesis 25:22-23, saying that two distinct nations would emerge from her womb and that they would separate. One would be more powerful than the other, and the older would serve the younger. This prophecy came true. Jacob, whose name was later changed to Israel in Genesis 32:28 by God himself, due to his struggle and victory against men and the divine himself, became the patriarch of the 12 tribes of Israel. Esau, on the other hand, became the progenitor of the Edomites, who opposed the Israelites for generations and were eventually destroyed. The book of Obadiah, in its prophetic vision, details the fall of Edom. Obadiah 1:1-21 reports the sovereign Lord's message about Edom, predicting their humiliation and ruin because of their pride and violence against their brother Jacob. God declares that the wise men and warriors of Edom will be annihilated, and that shame and eternal destruction await them for not having pity on their brothers in times of disaster. The prophecy also mentions that just as the Edomites took advantage of the calamity of Jerusalem, all nations will drink from the same cup of desolation and will be as if they had never existed. But at Mount Zion there will be salvation, and Jacob will inherit the promised land. Jacob will be like fire, and Joseph like a flame, consuming the remains of Esau, leaving no survivors. The verses further describe that the exiled Israelites will occupy the lands of their enemies, from the mountains of Esau to the regions of the Philistines and beyond. Those who were scattered will return to rule over the lands that once belonged to their oppressors. Isaac had a fondness for Esau, his firstborn, especially for his hunting skills and the taste of the game he prepared. Rebekah, on the other hand, favored Jacob, which culminated in an environment of family rivalry, reflecting the struggle between the two nations that God had announced would emerge from their twin sons, according to Genesis 25:28. Esau was the eldest son and had the right to the birthright, but Rebekah helped Jacob, the youngest, to trick Isaac into receiving the blessing. In Genesis 27 we find the detailed account of this deception. When Isaac was old and his eyesight was so weakened that he could no longer see, he called Esau, his eldest son, and said, "My son, here I am." And Isaac asked him to go hunting and prepare delicious food so that when he ate it, he could bless Esau before he died. Meanwhile, Rebekah listened to the hidden conversation. As soon as Esau left to hunt, she approached Jacob and shared the plan for him to receive Isaac's blessing. Rebekah instructed Jacob to bring 2 chosen goats so that she could prepare the food that Isaac loved so much. Jacob showed concern, remembering that Esau was hairy and he was not, fearing that his father would realize the deception. Rebekah, however, said that any curse would fall on her and insisted that Jacob follow the plan. He obeyed, bringing the goats so that his mother could prepare the meal. Rebekah dressed Jacob in Esau's best clothes and used goat skins to cover Jacob's hands and smooth neck, simulating Esau's hairy appearance. With the food ready, Jacob went to Isaac, who, upon hearing the voice and feeling the texture of the deceived hands, believed it was Esau and began to bless him. Isaac asked how Jacob had returned so quickly, and he replied that the Lord God had given him success. Isaac then asked to feel his son, and when he touched Jacob's hands, he thought they were Esau's, due to the goat's skins. Without recognizing the fraud, Isaac accepted the food, and after eating and drinking the wine that Jacob brought him, he asked his son to come closer and kiss him. Upon smelling Esau's clothes, Isaac confirmed the blessing, wishing Jacob the blessings of the dew of heaven and the fertility of the earth, as well as supremacy over his nations and peoples, and dominion over his brothers. Soon after Isaac blessed Jacob, Esau returned from hunting and also prepared delicious food, seeking his father's blessing. Upon arriving, Isaac, already aware of the mistake, asked who he was, and upon hearing Esau claim to be his eldest son, Isaac lamented and explained that Jacob had come before and, with cunning, had taken the blessing intended for him. Esau, upon hearing this, let out a bitter cry and begged for a blessing too. Isaac, recognizing the error but unable to reverse the blessing already given, said that Jacob had taken advantage of him twice, first by taking the birthright and now the blessing. Esau asked if there was no blessing left for him, demonstrating the depth of the disappointment and family conflict that stemmed from this plot hatched by Rebekah and Jacob. Isaac replied to Esau that he had already established Jacob as lord over him, and that all of Jacob's relatives would be his servants. He said that Jacob would be sustained with grain and new wine, and asked what he could do for Esau, his son, after the blessing already granted. Esau, distressed, asked his father if there was only one blessing and begged for a blessing too. Moved, Isaac prophesied that Esau would live far from the riches of the earth and the dew of heaven. He said he would live by the sword and serve his brother, but when he became restless, he would throw the yoke of Jacob off his neck. After discovering Jacob's betrayal, Esau planned to kill him as soon as his father's mourning had passed. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Rebekah devised a plan to save Jacob, which involved once again deceiving her husband Isaac. Rebekah found a reason to send Jacob to his brother Laban in Haran to look for a wife. She summoned Jacob and warned him about Esau's intention to take revenge. "Flee now to my brother Laban and stay with him for a while until your brother's anger passes," she advised. Rebekah also expressed to Isaac her discontent with the Hittite women, suggesting that if Jacob took a wife from among them, her life would no longer have meaning. This served as a pretext for sending Jacob to Laban in the hope that he would find a wife among his relatives. Rebekah's marriage to Isaac was the result of divine providence. Her pregnancy was an answer to prayer, and her children's lives fulfilled prophecies. This demonstrates that despite human failures and sins, God can accomplish His will through His mercy and wisdom.